spectacular, over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's right now. So they wipe off his gloves, but you look at him like he's really feeling it right now. I mean, he probably has no idea where he is.
When I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter.
That one big shot's going to land if the guy's not throwing other shots. So I thought with less artillery in the air, less bombs in the air, that the guy would have a chance to get to later round.
Joe Rogan laughed while reacting to Jake Paul's knockout loss beside Anthony Joshua, saying the fight was a mismatch from day one. He explained that Jake typically faces retired boxers or MMA fighters, not a true Olympic champion heavyweight. Rogan emphasized Joshua's elite skill, power, and experience, noting he competes far above Jake's natural weight class. From a realistic boxing standpoint, Rogan said the ending was obvious long before the opening bell, merely confirming expectations for everyone watching worldwide.
Well, realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time. You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the...
After the fight, Anthony Joshua delivered a blunt post-fight message, claiming the knockout actually spared Jake Paul. He said that had the bout continued, he would have dismantled him mentally and physically. Joshua added the early stoppage prevented far greater punishment and long-term damage inside the ring entirely.
Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul, and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct...
Anthony Joshua being linked to a so-called circus fight with Jake Paul has sharply divided opinion across the boxing world. Many fans and experts view it as pure spectacle rather than a serious sporting contest, with a vast gap in size, experience, and pedigree impossible to ignore. Joshua is a two-time heavyweight world champion and an Olympic gold medalist, while Jake Paul is still relatively new to professional boxing. To critics, the matchup feels designed for views, headlines, and money rather than competitive integrity. After Joshua shattered Jake Paul's jaw with a knockout, Simon Jordan reacted strongly, arguing the entire event damaged boxing's credibility and blurred the line between sport and entertainment.
Because straight after the fight, I had the question being posed to Joshua, will he now fight Fury? And then my first thought was, after what I've seen, who cares? After that, who cares if Joshua fights Fury? I like Anthony Joshua immensely, Spencer. Any exchanges I've had with him, I think he comes across terrifically well. But I fail to see where it's taken him, other than hugely increasing his bank balance. You know, I really fail to see what this has done.
Well, it's done nothing, but he was going to fight in November, like I said, and he's just gone in there against Jake Paul. What has it done for his legacy? Absolutely zero. But it was, you know, he's earned a lot of money doing that. And he's going to go again, and he's going to fight possibly February, March, and then there's that Tyson Fury fight that's looming that could happen in September, whether Tyson Fury decides to come out of retirement or not come out of retirement. For Anthony Joshua, he's earned a hell of a lot of money. This is prize fighting, and that's what it's all about. That's what he's...
He argues that these types of bouts blur the line between genuine sport and spectacle, distracting fans from meaningful competition. Jordan stresses that Anthony Joshua has already secured generational wealth and a lasting legacy, so he has no need for novelty fights. Even without a Tyson-Fury clash, Jordan says Joshua's financial security makes retirement a realistic...
Earning more than Joshua. That apart, Spencer, 6 rounds to get Paul out of there. Reputationally, how does it leave AJ?
Well, thankfully it didn't go to points, because I think that would have been a disaster for Anthony Joshua. I think that he needed to get the job done inside the distance, you know, and he done it. Look, he could have done it at any given point. I think that he could have cut the ring off whenever he wanted to and got Jake Paul out of there. He took his time on that. He allowed Jake Paul to run around like a rabbit and throw the occasional shot from time to time, and I think he only landed one clean punch, didn't he, Anthony Joshua? And that was the one that broke his jaw in 2 places.
But I mean, you said, did you not, to us in this very studio the other day, he's got to get him out of there in round 1.
I did.
Otherwise, what we seeing?
Exactly that, and I think what we saw there was a little bit of entertainment, and that was pretty much it. But not entertainment that many people enjoyed. If I'm honest, I think that people wanted to see a demolition.
Joe Rogan praises Anthony Joshua by pointing to his speed, athleticism, and crushing power. He notes that Joshua moves like a far lighter fighter despite being a heavyweight, while possessing one-punch knockout power that can end a fight instantly. Rogan describes him as a nightmare opponent because of how fast he closes distance and finishes exchanges, adding that these qualities make it unrealistic for Crawford.
But this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is
Here's the thing that
terrifying.
nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power. One punch.
Adam Booth offers a brutally honest breakdown, pointing out that Jake Paul did manage to make Anthony Joshua miss on several occasions, which he considers noteworthy. Booth says Jake's movement, positioning, and discipline showed clear improvement, forcing Joshua to reset instead of landing at will. He makes it clear this did not mean Jake was winning, but admits creating hesitation against an elite heavyweight is significant and reflects real progress. Booth adds that making a fighter like Joshua miss is never accidental and requires preparation, timing, and confidence. He credits Jake's footwork and composure under pressure, saying those traits deserve recognition. However, Booth firmly stresses that these moments do not alter the overall reality of the fight. Once Joshua found his opening, his superior class, experience, and devastating power ultimately controlled the contest and decided the outcome.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul shared a ring. Your takeaways from the 6 rounds that we saw, presuming you watched?
I was impressed with Jake Paul. I thought that, following on from what we're saying, right? A few years ago, he was on Disney as a kid, acting up, and has decided to become a professional fighter. That takes balls, but he's obviously striving to be as good as he can be. You can see that in the way that he moves, the way that he is developed in how he's punching and performing. But to make a 2-time world heavyweight champion that's still live, AJ's still got something about him, to make him miss in such an accomplished manner. All right, so at times he was jumping out and running around, but there were times when he was well in range and still making AJ unable to land a clean, solid shot. He deserves a lot of respect for that. And then the shot that actually finished the fight, that broke his jaw quite badly, didn't put him out. That shot he threw with serious intention has put a lot of professional heavyweights to sleep. He didn't go to sleep. He actually finished on his knees, didn't he? Laughing and spitting blood out of his mouth. So, like they say, it's a special type of crazy and a special type of brave to do it. But I actually, hats off to him, because he showed that he's developing some accomplished little skills in there to look after himself. The size difference is always going to fatigue him.
I know everyone will come with the idea that, AJ should just go in there one round and smash him to bits, and that should be it was a big ring, right? Perhaps he could have cut the ring off a bit better, but would I be right in saying that regardless of skill level, if you forget about that with the 2 for a second, if someone is on the back foot on their bike and doing what Jake was doing, it's difficult no matter who you are, no matter the kind of separation in skill level.
It's a big ring, and you've either got to run at him and look like a novice yourself, or just take your time and understand.
In the aftermath, focus turned to Logan Paul seemingly trying to intimidate Anthony Joshua while talking about revenge for his brother. Logan is reported to have shown interest in fighting Joshua, but analysts quickly dismiss the idea as an even bigger mismatch than Jake's bout. They point out that Jake trains full-time with professional boxing coaches, showing real commitment to the sport. Logan, by contrast, lacks that level of dedication, experience, and technical development. Many analysts argue that a Logan versus Joshua fight will be completely one-sided. Further discussion reinforces that such a matchup would cross the line from spectacle into outright farce. While Jake, despite losing, demonstrated he belongs in professional boxing at a basic level, Logan is viewed as far less polished and serious. The overall consensus is that this fight would offer no competitive value and would only deepen criticism about the direction modern boxing is taking.
Would be more of a mismatch than Jake Paul. You know what I mean? Because at least Jake Paul has taken boxing, or has trained with real boxing trainers and real boxers. Whereas Logan Paul, he did that exhibition with Floyd, and Floyd's a little guy.
Not saying a little guy can't thump, because Floyd really gave him some two pieces with no size, right? But at the same time, you take his friend, Floyd's friend, Anthony Joshua, and get hit by him and see what happens. The same thing. Probably worse, because I think Logan, you know, he's a little taller than Jake. And because he's a little taller than Jake, he may think he's a little stronger than Jake. Which, I don't know which one's true or not. I don't think it makes a difference. But because he may feel that way, he may want to go in there and try to bang it out with AJ. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot quicker. See, that 6 rounds it took AJ to finally catch Jake, it took that way because Jake was on that bicycle, moving, being elusive, trying to come in and then come out. He tried to do a very poor man's Alexander Usyk, right? And it didn't work for him. Logan ain't gonna do that. Logan's gonna come in throwing punches and bunches like he did with Floyd, trying to get him in there and, you know, do all this stuff. And what's gonna happen as soon as AJ lines him up, sets his punch, he's gonna hit Jake and he's gonna break Jake down.
Sugashino O'Malley analyzes the fight's aftermath by focusing on Jake Paul's mindset heading into the bout. He explains that the trash talk and confidence Jake displayed before the fight were widely misunderstood by critics. According to Molly, Jake needed that attitude to mentally prepare himself to face a 2-time Olympic champion. He says belief and positive self-talk are crucial when stepping into the ring against overwhelming odds, even if the outcome is unfavorable. Molly adds that without that mental edge, Jake would not have been able to perform at all under such intense pressure. He believes much of the criticism overlooks how difficult it is to share the ring with a fighter of Anthony Joshua's caliber. While the loss was decisive, Molly argues Jake's approach showed respect for the challenge and highlighted the immense psychological demands involved in facing an elite heavyweight.
Jake was shooting double legs too.
Shooting double legs, nice
Duck
ones
unders.
with ankle picks, duck unders. But dude, God, people, I see so much people talking shit on in the fight, which, dude, what the fuck did they expect? Like, Jake was hyping himself up, saying he's gonna win. So, dude, that's self-belief. He needed that. He needed that to get himself into the ring. You know what I'm saying? He just needed that.
What do you think about the sticking his tongue out?
Dude, he's a showman. This is a fucking YouTuber that switched to pro boxing.
Yep.
And he's fighting Anthony fucking Joshua. He made $90 million, $7.5 million per minute. Nate Diaz says that boy don't work hard enough. This girl in the UFC said Jake Paul shot more double legs in boxing match than I did in my UFC career. Ryan Garcia said he's a track star. Al Germain said this is a clown show. Josh Hammond said he was like, what did they expect? They expect him to go in there and look like a clean fucking Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck?
You see the aftermath, like his jaw and everything. Fuck.
Jake Paul's broken jaw. Jake has to get wired shut for 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, like
Tim had to do 7 weeks.
Yeah, Tim says that was the worst thing he's ever gone through.
7 weeks. Tim broke his jaw in Montana. Tried to go to the hospital. Hospital said the surgeon's out of town. So now he has to. So he's fucking goes like a week without even getting surgery. At least Jake was able to probably get it like next day, that same day. But it's like all the people hating on Jake. It's crazy. Connor said Jake is stupid and will be altered permanently from this bout. I look at it. It's inspiring seeing what he does because I know how much like he's putting in work. He's doing legitimate fight camps. He's doing sparring. He's doing rounds. He's eating. He's doing everything.
Teddy Atlas explains that his prediction of the fight lasting several rounds was based on genuine boxing factors, not any belief that it was staged. He points to Anthony Joshua's long layoff, the knockout loss in his previous bout, and the mental hesitation that can follow such setbacks. Atlas says those doubts take time to clear, especially for a fighter who is not a natural fast starter. He also notes the larger ring size, which allowed Jake Paul more space to move and survive in the early rounds. Atlas believes Jake entered the fight with a serious game plan built around movement and endurance. However, once Joshua's pressure increased, the challenge intensified quickly. According to Atlas, Jake reached a mental and physical level he had never faced before. Joshua's relentless pressure, combined with Jake's muscular build, causing quicker fatigue and the demands of elite-level competition, led to Jake gassing out. Atlas firmly states the fight was real and decided purely by boxing realities, not spectacle.
Go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a silent agreement. I wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why I said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more, and, whatever. So that was part of it. But there was real parts. Say, that's the fixed part. That's the WWE part. That's where the people, and I'm with you. I get it if you want to think that. Here's why I picked rounds, and this is what I think I saw, and I know that in my mind I saw, was the fact is that a lot of people didn't think about 15 months off. There was going to be some ruts. There was going to be some hesitation. There was going to be some time. He got knocked out by Dubois freaking 15 months ago. There were going to be ghosts in the attic. I don't care who you fight. You get in the ring again. It's going to take a minute to exercise those ghosts. The rust. You want to call it rust, whatever. It's going to take 5-6 rounds to get rid of the rust. But it's going to, the doubt, the self-doubt, the being in the ring for the first time with nothing in between after being knocked out. That was going to be a play. And then the size of the ring, 22 by 20. It's usually 20 is pretty usually around average. And it's 22 by 20. More room to elude, more room to move around. I thought maybe going in.
Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi deliver a harsh but honest assessment of the fight, emphasizing just how badly it ended for Jake Paul. They point out that Jake suffered severe damage, including a jaw reportedly broken in 2 places and multiple lost teeth, yet still failed to gain respect from much of the boxing audience. Algieri argues fans were left unsatisfied because Jake never truly committed to fighting. He believed Jake would have earned more respect by attacking aggressively, even if that meant being knocked out earlier. Algieri compares it to classic fights where competitors are praised for trying to win, regardless of the result. Malignaggi builds on this by explaining that Jake's hit-and-run approach was never sustainable. Constant movement, he says, drains the legs and only delays the inevitable, especially in a larger ring. Paulie adds that Jake lacks the technical foundation to move and box effectively at the same time. As a novice, he explains, a fighter can either engage or retreat, but cannot successfully combine both. By choosing survival over risk, both analysts agree Jake ultimately damaged his standing with boxing fans far more than an early knockout ever would have.
And Ngannou type fight. Yeah, Ngannou, he's got balls. Ngannou's got balls, man. He went out there and he tried to fight, tried to win. Jake Paul didn't try to win at any point during the fight. He was just trying to survive. I think that's actually ultimately going to hurt him with boxing fans.
Yeah, what do you think, Paulie? I mean, you talked about the in and out kind of style, kind of hits and runs, and you said that A, it runs out your legs. He was exhausted a couple rounds into the fight, and B, it only saved him for so long.
He doesn't have the boxing skills to box on the move anyway. Once I saw the big ring, I knew he was going to run for his life. When you're that much of a novice, which obviously it's not even an insult to him, he's just lack of experience, but when you're that much of a novice, you either know how to run for your life or fight all out. You don't have that in between yet. You haven't developed enough of that in between boxing acumen to really pull that off. And so what ends up happening? You're either going to fight your ass off and you'll last a minute. Chris, you're being generous. Round 2, he would have got knocked out round 1 if he would have fought. But at least he would have fought. He would have gotten the respect of the people and more importantly, the boxing community instead of these clowns that follow him and are still defending him. Now what happens is you didn't get any respect as a fighter. You didn't get any respect as a fighter because he didn't try to fight at all. If he would have, I was watching that through 2-3 rounds. I'm thinking to myself, this guy would do this for 8 rounds if he can. If he can do this for 8 rounds, absolutely not fight at all, absolutely not engage a single time in 8 rounds, he will actually do this. And he'll do it shamelessly. And that's the problem. That's the problem. The shamelessness of his approach to the fight. You're gonna be a fighter, then don't make an ass out of the whole sport, out of the whole business, and out of yourself first and foremost. Because in the end, what happens? You got his jaw broke anyway. So what ends up happening? What's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get knocked out? You got hurt and you got knocked out anyway. But you just prolonged the inevitable, and you got no respect out of it now. There's nobody's respecting that kind of performance. Nobody's respecting a performance where you were totally content to steal money from every...
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned for more.